Welcome to Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. A world where coming in second place is not an option, but where principle-centered winning is the only approach.
Good morning, and welcome to Government Contracting Weekly. I'm Jim McCarthy, the owner and technical director of Key Solutions. In today's show, we're going to be talking with two experts in the dynamic area of business development. Let's get right to it.
Good morning. I'm here with Polo Morales from SRA International and Bill Washburn from Octo Consulting. Gentlemen, welcome. We're here to talk today about business development in the government contracting market. How about if I ask both of you to sort of introduce yourselves and give a little bit about your background and your definition now of business development, what that means to you in the context of the government contracts market. Bill.
Thanks, Jim. It's good to be here. And I'm currently the business developer for the IC community at Octo Consulting. Look forward to many years with Octo, but I've only been there for 4 months. I think my definition for business development is really to engage the customer directly and have the defined opportunities in hand to pass on to my capture team and execution team to get a good proposal out the door and hopefully a win in the future.
And you've had a few in your career too, by the way, because I've noticed that, so it's good. Polo, tell us about yourself and your definition of business development.
Good morning. Again, Polo Morales from SRA International, and I am the Director of Business Development and Capture for the Defense Group in SRA. And been there for 2 years and having fun. My definition of business development, it's a process that consists of identification, qualification, capture, and finally proposal. I'd like to think of it as an opportunity where we're trying to tilt the scale, if we're the incumbent or if we're the competition, towards our position in some way. And that is by...
And you see that as your job, basically, to make sure that happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and we do that through as much develop an in-depth understanding of the customer's needs, wants, and desires, hardware and software determinants. What is it that he's looking for? And trying to couple that with what our key core capabilities are and come up with, again, a winning solution.
Okay, so, this is not news to you or to our audience, but we're in a tough business. It's very, very competitive. Stakes are high. It's not like the Olympics where you get a silver medal for something. Basically it's you win or you lose. Tell us about your perspective of some of the challenges, shall we say, what's in the hard pile when it comes to dealing with federal procurement. What do you see as a challenge, Bill?
Well, I think the biggest challenge today is the delay. Government is increasingly delaying things that would otherwise be procured on a schedule that they would keep to, but without available funding and without the planning being done in the beginning of the fiscal year or prior to the beginning of the fiscal year. That's being pushed off with the continuing resolutions and the impact of sequestration.
So it creates a certain uncertainty. It's hard to plan, it's hard to budget, it's hard to know what's coming out, what RFP is coming out and when it's going to be turned in and when the award's going to be made. Paul, what's your perspective on the challenge in this business?
I'd like to change that a little bit. I think that's not really new to me or us. I think the new is there's a new normal, and we thought that levels are, as an example, just hypothetically, a 90, and now the new normal is a 60.
Absolutely.
And we had somehow you have to get to that, and it's usually through a loss to recognize that there's a market correction and that the market is driving, in this case, down, and I'm not sure that we've hit the bottom yet.
Really? Well, you know, the U.S. government purchases about $500 billion a year, so that's a pretty lucrative market still, even though it is a new normal. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is no shortage of opportunities, taking a little bit longer, as he said, but I don't see that there's a lack of opportunities to identify, qualify, and do capture on.
No, there's certainly not a lack of opportunity, and there's plenty of challenges out there. But the biggest challenge is dealing with people that are at a level and then bringing them in at a lower level. Polo's absolutely right when it comes to that interface with the person that's going to do the job, thinking that they were at a certain level for a job that they were previously doing, especially in that recompete situation. That's a challenge.
Gotcha.
Federal acquisition and program offices are working every day to defend and secure the United States. Hello, I'm Brian Null, President of Bluewater Federal Solutions. We are a growing small business possessing the experience and capabilities found in the largest federal contractors. Since 2005, we've earned a significant number of contracts and task orders across DoD, DHS, and civilian agencies, with major contracts including DHS Eagle, Eagle II, and GSA Alliance Small Business. Our success is achieved through the high-performance teams that are providing disciplined service delivery on complex technical solutions, meeting cost and schedule with exceptional customer feedback and official CPAR ratings. To learn how we can deliver exceptional results on your mission requirements, go to bluewaterfederal.com and click on Contact Us. Bluewater Federal, solutions, integrity, results.
Polo, you mentioned a minute ago the difference between incumbent and a challenger or a competitor, okay? So in today's market, which we all know the new normal that you talked about, is it more advantageous to be an incumbent or to be a challenger, and why? What's your thoughts on that?
I believe that both of them are fun. So there's advantages and disadvantages for both. As the incumbent, you have detailed knowledge of the domain and the business rules and what the customer's needs, wants, and desires are. As a challenger, you have the advantage of not being encumbered by 5 years of salary escalation and the history along with that program. So to do or to be able to present a market correction or a competitive price, the challenger, I think, has a little bit of an advantage there. So
in this marketplace?
In this particular marketplace.
Bill, what are your thoughts?
Well, you certainly get bogged down as an incumbent with your, especially in a larger program where you have a aged staff that's no longer as junior as the government's going to ask for. What I find is the challenger can definitely strike lower and strike with the right price. But as Polo said, the challenger is going to be encumbered by not having the intimacy and that closeness with the customer.
Right. I would think it's somewhat situational dependent too, wouldn't it? I mean,
Sometimes.
some cases it may be an advantage to being the incumbent, but other cases maybe not so, for the reasons you all described. But let's talk about LPTA for a minute, low price technically acceptable. Does that tend to work to the advantage of the incumbent or to the challenger, or what?
Well, probably to the government, but
the
not
government.
the taxpayer.
Yeah.
The challenge that I see on LPTA is finding that acceptable price that the government will find attractive with a staff that can actually do the work. And that challenge is where the government really finds a attraction in a contractor that can deliver at a price that they say they're going to.
Right. Polo, do you think that low price technically acceptable in the long run is in the best interest of the taxpayer? What's your thought?
I'm not sure the jury's out on that yet. I believe that we've seen several LPTA offerings or opportunities this year, and the price or the winner 15, 20% lower than what the expected number was. And I think it's interesting to understand or focus on, what constitutes acceptance and what is it that we've got to do to satisfy the requirement or what
That's
the customer
needs,
thinks
wants, and desires that you're talking about, yeah.
And so
Okay.
sometimes we do a really fine job of writing that, and sometimes, so we're writing to the requirement. And that, if the requirement's not written really well, it's challenging. And that comes out over time, not immediately what you see.
Let me shift ground a little bit and talk about another subject. I know both of you have been in this business a long time. In fact, I think you both got started on the original pyramid construction contract back in the days of ancient Egypt, right? So my question for you is, what do you know today that you wish you knew when you started back in your earliest days of your career? Bill?
I think I wish I knew I was selling when I was an engineer. Because the reality is an engineer has to sell to the ERB and to the senior government officials their ideas and their challenges. They just don't know they're selling, and they don't know how good they are at it.
So you're saying business development is everybody's responsibility?
It's everybody's responsibility, and it's even that engineer that started out early that got their solution accepted by the government through those challenges of all of those boards and all of those meetings and all of those acceptance criterias, and they sold them. And the same thing is possible in that transition from engineer to proposal writer to capture manager to business developer. Some of our best business development staff comes from that engineer that has that capability.
And because they tend to be more customer facing, they're there every day working with the customer in many ways, right? Yeah. Okay, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
I think you might be surprised by my answer.
Okay.
And that is that we're working in a cycle, and it's usually a year and sometimes less. And we wait, the money gets appropriated usually around the 1st. It takes 30, 60 days, 90 days for it to get to the program managers to be able to actually execute something. And we usually start work December, January, and then we start that cycle pretty much all over again. So we repeat a cycle, and sometimes we're really good at it, and sometimes we have very hectic. If I had an idea that the level of activity that would happen in the July and August timeframe,
if you had a crystal ball, we'd all be a lot smarter, wouldn't we? So think about it that way. All right, thank you.
In this hyper-competitive marketplace, as a federal government contractor, now more than ever, you need to identify, track, forecast, and analyze opportunities that will help you grow your company by better positioning yourself to win contracts. I'm Jamie Bratton, the founder of Easy GovOps, and that's our mission. Utilizing the most intuitive market intelligence platform, Easy GovOps, enables contractors of all sizes to manage their pipeline, collaborate, and team like never before. Experience for yourself the power available to you and your team with a 5-day free trial period with no commitment necessary to begin. Simply visit easygovops.com to start your free trial today. Join the hundreds of other federal government contractors who are enjoying the ultimate competitive advantage of our unequaled market intelligence. Just spend one free week at easygovops.com and see for yourself.
The Veteran Institute for Procurement was established to arm our vets to win in the federal marketplace. VIP is a comprehensive educational training program for veteran-owned businesses, and it's working as graduates add jobs and grow revenue. The program is funded entirely by the Montgomery County Chamber Community Foundation and is offered entirely at no cost to participants. To learn more, please visit our website at nationalvip.org.
We're here with Polo Morales from SRA International and Bill Washburn from Octo Consulting. Gentlemen, here's a common complaint that we hear all the time from small businesses, new entrants into the marketplace, and that is they can't seem to get to see their customer. Phone calls are not returned, or emails are not returned, and they're sort of shooting in the dark. So my question to you is, what advice can you give our small businesses here that are watching of how they can become customer facing and get in to actually see that customer before an RFP is decided or a contract is let, or something like that? We'll start with you, Bill.
So, Jim, I'm newly with a small firm. Octo Consulting is 7 years old. It's an 8A small business. Very exciting, a lot of young, energetic folks. Kind of a new foray for me. I've been with larger companies, CSC and SAIC, so that background is a little bit different because you have large incumbencies and you often have that status with the customer already established. New companies and young, energetic small companies don't have that same advantage often. What they sometimes have is that implanted engineer that can be the best salesperson on site.
A subject matter expert.
And a subject matter expert, a leader of ideas inside the customer space that gets that foray for the business developers like myself or the leaders like our president. But if they don't have that and they're starting out new, there's the small business advocacy offices. Even in the intelligence community, we have those offices. Sandra Brodnack's at NGA is fantastic. She has an open door. She welcomes newcomers, and she'll get you that face to the customer. It's not always just a challenge to get that first entry in, but it's maintaining a conversation and maintaining that position.
All right, so Polo, if you were advising a small business of what they need to do to get in front of their customer or their would-be customer, what would you tell them?
I would do some research and figure out who it is that's in the space today providing services to that particular customer, and figure out a way to get to the primes that are currently providing services. Usually the cycle includes a gap analysis at a recompete or when a new opportunity is coming out, where there are holes that need to be filled, and the magic is to try and match your capabilities with the gaps or holes that are existing in the team. And if you're able to match your capabilities with an existing requirement, then it's a pretty easy thing. Another possible way is consultants. To find a consultant that has a relationship and that could possibly make that introduction for you. I've found that,
and typically that consultant might be retired from that agency or something like, so that he or she knows people when she walks up and down the halls, and that's how the introductions occur.
That's correct. Yeah. In the new normal that we mentioned earlier, bringing in new blood, new ideas, and a fresh approach from a small business is part of our dance card, as I would call it. And so, common for us to be on the lookout and figuring out ways to bring in new small businesses. In fact, I try to actually we try as a company to actually exceed our small business requirements. So you'll find some that are out there that.
No, in part it may be complicated by a basic question: who is the customer? And I'd submit to you under LPTA perhaps that since price has taken such an overriding position in the selection of a contractor, that it may be the contracts people and the budget people who are making decisions, not the program people at all. Has that been your experience? Have you guys seen that?
Sometimes. I mean, the LPTA environment is definitely empowering contracts to manage things a little closer to the vest, and the requirements are tossed over to them. They're formulating the RFPs, and then they're managing it from there. And your interface is often not getting further than that because of the, one, the speed, and two, the fact that they're trying to insulate some of that. Everything is available through a website like FBO. All contact will be held through that. I mean, the contracting officers are clamping down, and part of that is the worry of protest, and part of that is also the fact that they have a timeline that's somewhat accelerated from a while back. It used to be we had legs on these things. We had time to go in and see customers and to get those interfaces.
Okay, so Polo Morales, any thoughts on that?
I think that what you're describing is that the decision maker has moved from the technical end user to a more contract-centric in that environment, or that LPTA environment. And so the focus, the business development process, has to include an understanding of the technical end user, as well as a visit to, or multiple visits to, the contract entity that's actually making the decision. So
there are many stakeholders, there are many influencers in a procurement selection, basically.
that's correct.
Okay. Let's change topics a little bit and talk about teaming. 15, 20 years ago, teaming was not as common as it is today. You know, but now it's almost the rule rather than the exception, that teams are formed to go after big contracts. So my question to you is, what do you look for when you're looking for a teammate? What kind of characteristics come to mind?
I would say that we are looking to provide a best of breed and best practice. And so if we can find a team that allows us to bring to the customer a solution that includes the best of both companies, or two larges, or large and a number of smalls, that's what we're going to try and do. And if that means that we have to give up an amount of the work, then it's what's in best interest of the mission, or what the customer's end requirement is. And so we'll focus, and I think that we've observed that that's happened a lot more recently, where, like you described, in the past there wasn't as much teaming, and now there is a lot more. And that's, I believe, an effort to bring a competitive price, as well as an effective solution that others have already done some piece, and we go and see if we can get them and bring them a part of our end solution in our team.
Okay. Bill, what do you look for when you try to find let's say, a prime contractor? What is it that is really the decisive point for you?
So I think one of the focuses I would have, especially when I'm looking to be a significant part of a larger contract with a significant prime that has a good P-win, my goal is to really offer our capabilities, our strategic capabilities going forward across multiple opportunities, and my specific capabilities associated with the opportunity that we're looking at. In a simple case where the requirements are very specific and the government has done a really good job of discerning these requirements, you got to, as a small business, you have to find your niche. In some cases, your niche is a capability that a larger company just doesn't have. And so
a real specialized niche.
Right, and Octo brings a lot of those niche kind of folks and niche capabilities that can focus and really separate a larger company from the pack.
Good morning, my name is Alan Horlick, and I'm the executive producer of Government Contracting Weekly, which is currently in its second year on television. Now, as we move into a new year, I want to share with you some exciting news, and that is our decision to begin producing and airing commercial messages. This unique program attracts a pure concentration of both industry and government decision makers. As an advertiser, you can't afford to waste your money. So whether you are a contractor or a service provider, Government Contracting Weekly offers you the perfect environment and the perfect audience so you can make your own best pitch on why you should be hired. If you'd like to learn more about advertising in Government Contracting Weekly, you can contact us at governmentcontractingweekly.com and click on Advertise.
With me today are two of our distinguished guests, Bill Washburn from Octo Consulting and Polo Morales from SRA International. Gentlemen, if you've watched our show before, you know that a regular feature of our show is what we call Keys to Winning. And so what I would ask you both to think about is, what are the keys to winning in this market at this particular point in time? Polo.
I'd like to present two. First is understanding of the customer's mission and his domain, and finally understanding the business rules for that customer.
Okay. And by business rules, are you talking about the federal acquisition regulations, or are you talking about the low price technically acceptable, or
Actually, the way that the customer might implement a particular technology or a particular process, and how that might allow you to provide efficiencies or innovation.
Okay.
It's that customer intimacy that's gained either through your interaction or that customer intimacy that's gained from being an incumbent. But it's knowing how that customer is operating to better craft your solution.
So that's your key to winning then, is essentially knowing that customer and then making sure you take that input and into your technical solution.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to find your niche, as I said, and you have to be successful in working with that customer so that you're, at the end of the day, presenting what they want in a cost-effective manner.
Got it. So one final question. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to talk about? This would be a good opportunity. Bill?
You know, I think we had a good time today, Jim. You were very thorough, as usual, and I really appreciate being here, and think that this is a great show that everybody should watch. Our peers, folks that are new to the industry, and certainly our customer.
Okay. Polo, last word.
Thanks for inviting me.
Okay.
Here at Key Solutions, we've been working for more than 30 years to help government contractors win and retain contracts in excess of $130 billion. Now, we've worked with 87 out of the top 100 government contractors and hundreds of small companies as well. I'm Jim McCarthy, the owner of Key Solutions, and we want to help you win or retain your next contract. Contact us at AOC Key Solutions and click on Win.
Nobody knows if it's here to stay, but it's our prediction that it's here for a long time. That said, the real question is, to what extent will it be used and for what kinds of programs? It's our belief that it's being applied overzealously right now because of the emphasis on reducing budgets, but it has a place. Quoting Joe Jordan, administrator of OMB's Office for Procurement Policy, who was on this show in August, "I would not choose my cardiac surgeon that way." And yes, the government understands that misapplication of LPTA would not be in the nation's best interests. The key is applying it for commoditized procurements and for applying best value for those areas where quality is important. For more information about this and other keys to winning, go to governmentcontractingweekly.com and click on Weekly Buzz.
I hope you took away some valuable keys to winning from today's show. On behalf of all my colleagues here at Key Solutions, I'm Jim McCarthy. See you next week.
You've been watching Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored each week by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. For additional information, comments, questions, or suggestions, please write us at governmentcontractingweekly.com.